All right, folks, on this episode, we have a real treat on our hands. We are joined by the CEO of INEOS Automotive, Ms. Lynn Calder, who is in town for the LA Auto Show. If you haven't seen the INEOS Grenadier, or their new Quartermaster range. It is a new car company that is making vintage-style, sort of throwback SUVs that people who have driven them can't seem to say enough nice things about. So we're going to learn about the history of INEOS and what it's like to develop a brand new car completely from scratch, not to mention what it's like to build a car that looks very old. In a world where that seems to be not a thing that people can do. This is a very interesting hour of radio, and we're very fortunate to have her. Lynn Calder, CEO of INEOS Automotive, is on the Smoking Tire podcast.
You've got a lot
we have
of
fans?
You have fans.
Oh, cool. Oh, where are these people? Why aren't they talking?
We went to the UK. We had an audience.
No. You know, is it in the UK?
This was in the US.
Oh, okay, cool. We have some UK people as well.
I'm sure you do.
Yeah, we did a show at Caffeine and Machine in the UK, and it was, you know that place?
I haven't been.
You should go. You should do an event there.
Oh, yeah, that sounds great.
It's like a permanent cars and coffee place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they have 3 of them now.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 or 4?
3.
That's great. Are we good?
We're good.
We're good. Welcome.
Welcome
to the West Side. We tore you away from the convention center, and here you are.
I'm delighted to be torn away. Fantastic to hear. Thanks.
All day, LA Auto Show. How's it shaping up?
It's been a great day. It's my first LA Auto Show, actually, so it's been a great day for me.
Yeah? It's a press day, right? Is it a press day? I think it is. My friend, my phone's in the office, but my friend just came back from the auto show and literally said the only thing worth seeing was the INEOS stand.
Yes.
So
I love that.
Yeah, and he's a hydrogen guy. So he said said if you want to talk about hydrogen, this is your guy. Hydrogen Brian is my neighbor, but
Hydrogen.
He said you had the only good stand there. So nicely done.
Thanks, Hydrogen Brian.
You've impressed this one Angelino. So this is INEOS is an interesting car company, and where did it come from?
It looks pretty random, right?
It is random, but also it's sort of also obvious as the counterbalance to cars being shaped like eggs for 10 years, right?
Yeah, and only getting more so, and only getting more laden with tech, and only getting more softer, and not really there for what they were intended to do in the first place. So,
right.
The idea came about by our owner, Sir Jim Ratliffe, who is one of the UK's richest men. He is completely self-made. He's built a big conglomerate of petrochemicals, chemicals, and oil and gas energy. But he is at his heart an adventurer. He loves his cars. He specifically loves his 4x4s. And so whilst it started off as a bit of a passion of, do you know, they're not making anything like this anymore, which means it's going to be difficult for me to go from coast to coast in Africa and not break down and be able to fix it and get on my way again. He also then he's a businessman, right? He was like, there's a gap in the market. He doesn't like that everything looks bulbous and like an egg.
I read that he literally tried to buy the IP and tooling for the Defender from Land Rover. Is that correct? Yeah,
there were some early discussions where he kind of thought, actually, well, if you don't want to do it, I'll do it. Because, the reasons given were, it's modern emissions, modern pedestrian protection, all the legals that we have to abide by. And I think we just thought we wanted a crack at doing it. And we just then thought, okay, well, we'll just do it ourselves.
Well, it's pretty ambitious to not just, we're going to do resto mods and we're going to find VINs and we're going to, build pretty much new cars, but they're old, 67 Series 2 or whatever. But you go, we're going to make a car that at first glance looks like a Land Rover Defender. And you put them side by side, there's clear differences. But first glance, that's what it's kind of generally going to look like. But it is a new car that exists in a new world. That's really hard, right?
From the ground up.
Yeah.
Right? So it's designing it, so it might at first glance look like that. But actually what really drove that was more, it's a boxy shape with a wheel at each corner to maximise the space, to maximise the visibility. It's like, how do you make a really good off-roader It's that shape, it's that sort of dimension, it's the ground clearance, it's the approach and departure angles. So, that kind of drove the design. But then, it's hard, Then you got to engineer it, and then you got to work out how you're going to build it, and then you got to build a supply chain. We got 2,400 parts in this thing.
One of which may have been a little more problem than it was recently, right? Maybe.
Yeah. No cars without seats.
Yeah. That we'll get to that, but it's. I mean, if why do you think Land Rover themselves didn't think? I mean, obviously there is a car out called Defender that has vague cues that resemble the original one, but it's clearly, in reality, nothing like the original one. Your car is much closer than what Land Rover is selling now to that original spirit. Why do you think they couldn't do it or didn't want to do it?
I think probably the same reason that most of the others are doing it. There's a really strong market for, a really nice, rugged-looking SUV that's going to, not ever do anything particularly challenging. People want big cars. They want to sit high up. They want to feel safe. They look cool. It's a big segment, and I think that the segment is kind of going in that sort of direction of sedating itself because there's a big market for it. But there's also a really big market for people that either need to have a utilitarian car or want to because they have a lot of fun in it and they do lots of cool stuff. And that was the segment that was being left behind that we kind of wanted to go and say, hey, we'll fill it, we'll do it.
Yeah. Is it a situation where the majority of the market is heading towards eggy crossover things, and for a factory to keep essentially two lines open to build this small niche thing, like for Land Rover to do that, it's just too expensive and they cut costs?
I don't know about them. I would say I love your eggy crossover, by the way. That's great. And I think that platform sharing, sort of investing in one super expensive platform and then getting as many vehicles as you possibly can from it is definitely driving economics and driving eggy looks from a design perspective. Sure. Because you can't vary a huge amount about what you do. Once you've got the platform, you've got to have a certain, you've got to have a certain seat reference position. It's all
the same dash to axle.
And you've got to have a certain, windscreen angle. And that means that it's just driving everything to look the same. But it was another thing we were railing against is we don't want to look the same. So whilst it looks like we're trying to do something that has been done before, it's not being done now. And what we're really trying to do was just build a retro-looking 4x4 that can go anywhere you want it to go.
What I liked about it, we saw the ones at the Goodwood Festival of Speed 2022. They were early. And I went, I don't know. But then we saw one in L.A. much later, a customer car, and I went, this is like put together really nice. It was really impressive. But I got in it, and I really was like, there were so many buttons and levers, and I was like, oh, this is great. Because I think we have too much screen in our lives, and for some things in a car, like a screen really is the right answer. But I think it's for less things than you think. And so the amount of buttons that controlled stuff in the interior, I was like, yes, I was so excited.
The whole screen thing. I mean, I think
look at that panel. Sorry to interrupt. It looks like a 747's panel.
It does, and look with the feedback we get on that, and it's one of my favourite things as well. Like
look at that panel.
You really get in there and feel like you're going to take off.
Ceiling toggles are what's up. All day.
It's true.
All the ceiling toggles, please.
We absolutely love this. But you're so right about screens. I mean, sure, they have their place. Lots of people like them. But I don't know. I mean, I think it's disappeared up its own ass in a way as well. Actually, on some occasions, true story, you need to go through 4 different menus to open the glove box.
Yeah.
And that just becomes stupid, pointless.
It's really bad. You know where it's really bad? When they put the ADAS stuff a couple menus deep, and we drive the European reg cars now, where it's mandatory on, and I have to go so many menus to turn that stuff off.
Touché, Matt. Touché. We're fixing that.
One-click ADAS disable button. Is that possible?
Well, we're just going to disable the whole thing because we don't need to do it here.
In America?
Yeah. So we can't disable it in Europe, but we can disable it here. So we're going to switch it off at software level, so you don't have to deal with it at all. I did actually insist and this is not just for the US market, this is for me because I drive a Grenadier, that we factory program the ADAS functions into the favorites button.
Yeah.
So at least you can sort of
So you
press
can
that
quick
one.
click off. Yeah, that's kind of the move. Like, it's fine if they have to be on. I get it, but like, how about a one button go away kind of thing? You know.
But look, I mean, we've taken a lot of flack on that, and I completely get it. And actually, driving in Europe where we have to have it, it really drives me insane as well. It's awful, and I hate the way that regulation is taking us sometimes, because it just, we're all about bringing the joy, the fun back into driving. And actually, it's not very fun when you're getting told every 5 minutes that you're doing something wrong. But yeah, we're a startup. We're in 50 countries, and we're trying to get them all Grenadiers into all of them in a legal way, and it's complex.
Oh, dude, look,
we'll
I'm not complaining about this feature I've not driven a Grenadier yet. You understand this, right? I'm getting one in 2 weeks, but I couldn't comment on your car, how it drives, because I haven't driven one yet. But like, we've driven, like, for instance, all the new Aston Martins, which is like that, and I don't mean to single out Aston Martin, but as it just so happens, they did this pretty egregiously. They buried in the menu, in their beautiful new touchscreen, how to turn off the ADAS stuff. And we were driving European spec press cars, and every time, this might be a journalist problem, but you're filming it, you're turning the car off and on like 100 times.
Yeah.
And you have to keep going in and doing it. And so it's not, even that if it's got to be mandatory, fine, but like, just give me a one button go away solution.
Yeah. Who wants to be European these days, right?
Hey, listen, you guys do a lot of things. All right.
And a lot of things we don't. I mean, yeah, back to disappearing up our own asses again. So.
Welcome to America, where we're perfect. Didn't you know? Didn't you know? Like, we never make any mistakes here.
The perfect place is in the middle of the Atlantic, in between both.
Yeah,
where the aliens
Iceland,
live.
exactly.
Or
Iceland.
Iceland's great.
Yeah.
Iceland is good. You guys probably have a big market Are you in Iceland?
We are in Iceland.
Yeah. Has Arctic Trucks approached you guys yet to do a crazy one?
No, because we've actually got Einar in Iceland, who's our guy who does crazy.
You have your own guy?
He does some crazy stuff. He's put 44 wheels.
Oh, can you please Google INEOS Iceland or whatever? Let's get some pictures of that. I love Iceland trucks. They're so cool.
Let me see if I can sort of talk and.
Well, Zach can do it so the audience can see it.
Well, even better. But we actually also.
Oh yeah, that looks excellent.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Yeah, it actually looks. Oh, it looks great.
I mean, it is very cool.
That looks so good.
The proportions work really well.
Wow, it's amazing how well the proportions hold up to those tires.
Wow.
Iceland does it. They are.
Iceland knows what's going on. We should all move to Iceland, back to your point.
Have you been?
In the summer, though.
I have been,
It's great.
Yeah, it's fabulous.
Yeah. Although you're from Scotland, so it's pretty close.
Just, yeah. I mean, I was there in summer this year, and it was, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to be in Fahrenheit here, but it was 4 degrees C, which is really cold.
Which is cold.
In summer,
yeah,
and that was very much reminding me of
that
home.
Cold and like daylight 24 hours a day is extremely strange.
That was reminding me sort of July 4 degrees C, reminding me very much of home.
That's pretty cold for July.
Cold, yeah, still pretty.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
We were there in July, and it was not 39 degrees.
No, it was warm.
Yeah,
it was nice.
I think the week after I was there, it got really nice again. So yeah, but no, it's very cool.
But did you get to drive that?
I did not get to drive that.
Listen, CEO privileges dictate.
We've also just been in Iceland. I wasn't there actually over our last weekend doing a sort of shoot for our portal axles, which is kind of similar, but not with 44s, but lifted.
Is that going to be a production thing?
It's not going to be a series production thing, but it is going to be offered in small batches.
Oh,
so
cool.
That's what we're going to launch. So in Quartermaster, which is the pickup truck and the SUV. So.
And now we've proven you can fit 44-inch tires on it, so let's go. So wait. Let's exit the company. I mean, not totally, but like, how does one be? Your history is not one of a normal car company CEO.
I know.
It's like a totally different thing. So, like, how did we get here?
I mean, you tell me, Matt.
I don't know. I read like the LinkedIn version. I don't think that's the whole story.
No, it's look, everyone from the industry for sure, if they know about us and know anything about me at all, they'll all be like, "What? because you're right. I'm not an automotive person. I really like cars and I really like driving, and it's definitely in my blood. But I did not join the automotive industry. I joined the energy industry. So I joined INEOS 8 years ago. And INEOS is, and then we'll get out the company stuff. INEOS is just a federalised group of companies. It's not a big group as such. It's just lots and lots and lots of companies that are owned by the three owners. And I joined 8 years ago in the energy division, and I've done a few different roles, including CEO roles for INEOS. And this was devised, 8 years ago, really, by Jim, where he was he was travelling across Africa and he was just mourning the loss of this 4x4. And, then cue 4 or 5 years of it being an engineering project, a passion project, how do we make this the best car ever? But very quickly towards the end of that, Jim was, this needs to be a commercial success.
Yeah.
I saw the gap in the market. This can do really well. Other people will love this car, not just me. And the ambition started to really form as something quite a bit bigger. And then, as a sort of business person, he just kind of said, okay, go do it. Go make a success of it.
And were you like, how do you build a car? Gang, we're going to take a quick ad break for ourselves. That's right. The Smoking Tire Shop is open at thesmokingtireshop.com, or hit the link in the description of this podcast. We've got t-shirts, hoodies, and other TST merch for the holidays. There are new designs up there. Take a look at them. Get one for yourselves. Get one for your buddies. Get one for everybody. Get 10. Get them all. Just buy us out, why don't you? And, of course, the Smoking Tire Tactile Turn Pen collab is now open for the public. We gave the patrons first crack at it, but if you hit the link in the video description, the podcast description, this new pen with tactile turn is awesome. It is a lightweight anodized aluminum in a beautiful light gray color with a bolt action gel ink cartridge. It's great for you fidgety types like me. It's incredibly durable. It's got a lifetime warranty. Says the Smoking Tire right down there on the clip. I've been using it. It is a kick-ass little pen, and we're only making one run of them, so get them while they're hot at the link in the podcast description. And now, back to the show.
I was like, how are we going to find the parts? I think. I think, that straight out the gate, that was the problem. Straight out the gate, for me, that was the problem. It was, how do we find all the parts in the sufficient number that we need them in? So it became a really big supply chain problem at a time when supply chain was really challenging for everyone.
2020 and 2021 is the best time to find parts.
We have just effectively hit every best time in this industry since we've joined. And
Lotus really, I think, did the best through this period. Totally, they had no
Panama
problem.
Canal blockade.
Just textbook building those cars and getting them out. Go Lotus.
Well, I know how hard
Lotus,
it
we love
is.
you.
I know how hard it is. It's just really hard.
Yeah, of course it is. Of course it is. Some people admit that. Others, not so much.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, I genuinely love my job. My job is off the scale nuts, and I feel so privileged to have been asked to do something so left field, and I'm loving every minute. But it's really, I can swear on this podcast, right?
Yes.
It's really, really fucking hard.
Yeah, I believe you. What's the hardest part? Outside of supply chain. That seems to be the consistent theme here today. But
yeah, and that's really, no one wants to talk about supply chain.
Well, it's a legit thing that most people don't think about. This product ends up in my hand, but I've seen those supply chain maps before. You want to talk about having an overload where your brain might explode. I don't know how someone looks at that and doesn't have an immediate panic attack. That's crazy. What are those charts called?
I don't know.
I'm sure you guys do them. Have you ever seen the chart of all these every part in the car and it almost flows together over time, and these parts get combined here, and it's called something. I'm sorry, I sound like such a moron right now.
Well,
I'm sure you have something like this in your company.
I've seen stuff like that from an engineering perspective, where you see the parts all kind of
exploded
zoomed out, and then they kind of go back in. But I didn't know that.
No, this is a schedule of building a car. I think I saw it at the Porsche factory or something. It was just insane. Sorry.
We've got a few decades before we catch up with Porsche. What's the hardest part? I mean, the weird thing about my daily life at the moment is that every day feels like it's, and it's all minutiae and none of it's very exciting, but it's an adventure of extreme highs and extreme lows. And so it could be anything that, the hardest part could be anything when you zoom out saying, well, actually, we've got this great product, people really like it. How do so many people don't know about us? Hardly. So many people. I even go to auto shows, and they're like, "Sorry, what's INEOS? What do you guys do?" So if your own industry doesn't even know, when we've been around for 6 years, how can we expect your possible potential customer on the street to know about you? So I think brand awareness and building a brand. INEOS has been around a long time, but no one knows who they are either.
Yeah. I never heard of the chemical company before the cars, to tell you the truth. So
yeah, and actually we've done some work on that recently in the US to say, well, what's INEOS known for in the US, and it's the car. But we've still got a long way to go. We've tried getting really into sport.
That might not be so bad. You might be able to take advantage of that.
Reference to chemicals, sure. But we're into loads of sports. Like, we own the INEOS Grenadiers, which is the Formula E Team Sky road cycling team. We're a third owner in the Mercedes Formula One team. We own the America's Cup yacht sailing team. Jim has just bought 28% of Manchester United.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
So, we've got a name as it comes to sport, but trying to translate that into people buying cars, it's quite challenging. So that would be a big challenge. But
yeah. Maybe just take the name off all the stuff and just put pictures of the cars. Just take advantage.
Yeah.
New look. Let's go.
Yeah, and look, we can do that with Grenadier is very much our name, right? And Grenadier, by the way, is the name of the pub that Jim had the original discussion about building this car.
Oh, that's a nice tribute.
It's a little pub in Belgravia in London, and that was where the kind of seminal discussion took place. And when we decided what we were going to call it, it became the Grenadier. And actually now we bought the pub as well.
I was about to say, did they get points on the back end?
Right.
Buying the pub is basically the same thing. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, the pub owns the IP.
Now it's the INEOS Experience Center.
No, we've kept it very, very much as it is. It's a cute little pub.
Yeah.
You should come.
Speaking of which, I live in Los Angeles. Where can I buy an INEOS? How do I get one?
Pasadena.
Is there a proper dealer?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, there is. Okay. Oh, really? Okay, cool.
Yeah. And we've got 4 dealers in California actually. So we're up in Marin, we're in Orange County, we're in San Diego, and Pasadena.
Oh, okay, cool. That thought had not occurred to me until this very minute. I figured there would be a way on your website to do it. Why BMW engines?
So the decision predated me, and I'm really, really glad that it is a BMW engine. I think that they looked at lots of different engines, and I think that the engine is actually one of my favourite components of the car because it surprises me. I mean, it's a straight 6-cylinder engine. It's an engine.
Yeah.
It surprises me it surprised me the first time I drove it because its responsiveness relative to what you expect from the car, the slightly retro looking, not very modern looking, super off-road utilitarian vehicle. So the first time I drove it, went and did a whole bunch of off-road, came back down on the road, put my foot down, and I'm like, whoa, this is nice.
Yeah.
This is fun. So relative to the size and weight of the car, the engine's fun. So I think, back to your question, why, I think we weren't going to build our own engine, so we had to buy one. And I think we were looking for something that, gave us credibility, something that made people think, oh, it's not just someone we haven't heard of completely. It's got a credible backer. If BMW is going to work with them, then surely they're okay. Works really well, obviously, with the transmission, the ZF transmission that we've got. So engineering-wise, the whole thing just worked really well. Could have got the same thing from other OEMs and manufacturers for sure. So it was really just finding a partner.
Yeah,
Did it cause friction with the F1 team?
Yeah, I was going to say, if you've got the Mercedes F1 team, they have an inline 6 as well.
Yeah, well, they should have. They should have wanted to have a discussion with us.
Yeah, I was gonna ask how those rounds of meetings went, but I think I know the answer already. Where you said 50 countries? What's your biggest sales market so
right
far?
here.
America,
by a long way, actually.
Yeah, and is California the biggest of America?
It is constantly duking it out with Texas.
Oh, it's not surprising.
And actually, it is. It's really funny. It keeps going sort of just like that, just a little bit in terms of, it's one or the other. So 1-2, 1-2.
Okay.
This is California.
I think we're probably at the point where I see one almost every day living here.
That's awesome.
Which is cool. Yeah. There's one in my neighborhood that the guy's daily driver.
Over here.
Yeah.
Because I'm really irritated. I got into LA yesterday and I haven't seen a single Grenadier yet, and I've seen 6 Cybertrucks.
Oh, well, be prepared to be depressed. Because they only get worse with time, trust me. Yeah, they're not good. No, you'll see, and you see a lot of rugged stuff as well. It's a big Land Cruiser town.
Yeah, Jeep.
Big Jeep and 4Runner town, yeah. And people modify their stuff for like super, super off-roady here and then never go off-road. Like there's people that drive around with those giant rooftop tents forever. They never go camping. It's just a thing. Really helps their weight distribution.
Do you know, I'll happily sell Grenadiers to anyone that wants to buy one. I think, I think that I think there are so many people like that, and no, there's nothing wrong with sort of having a car that can, if you need to. People drive
GT3 RSs on the street too, and they're not going to racetracks. So, like, all right, whatever.
What a waste.
I agree. They probably would be happier with the actual thing that serves their needs, is usually my point. But that's not why we buy stuff like that, is it?
It's emotion, it's passion, it's how you look.
And
that's the difference between being in automotive versus being in a chemicals or an energy company. Business is business. It's always fun. I get a kick out of it. It's great.
Yeah.
But automotive is passion, right? It gets under your skin.
Yeah. Companies will make excuses a lot of times for why, big OEMs will make excuses for why they can't build something like this and sell it in the modern era, whether it's pedestrian or crash standards or blah, 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 whatever, emissions. And yet there is, as far as I could gather, no special loophole that allows INEOS to sell vehicles in the U.S. This is like a fully U.S. It's not like ultra low volume or any of that kind of stuff.
No,
it's like
this is a pure
fully homologated car.
Fully homologated series production car in every country that we're in. So, that was the brief, was to build this super capable, super reliable, cool looking car, but obviously it had to pass emissions, pedestrian protection, and be a modern vehicle in the modern world. Absolutely fully homologated.
It's so, because it has a obviously very squared off front end, and this is also fine for pedestrian in Europe, yes?
Yeah.
So man, why you guys can make a square car, and our square cars just like murder people. Like, all the American square cars are like murder machines because they have like 5 foot plus tall hood. The hood on this is actually quite low. Lower than a Wrangler, I think, right?
I actually don't know if it's lower than a Wrangler. I'm not sure that would be true.
It's pretty close. That photo of what looks like George Russell standing.
Is.
I mean, he's a tall boy for a racing driver. For a racing driver, he is. But the hood is basically at his waist in that photograph, unless there's some really funky perspective happening there. I recall it was not that tall. But I don't know. You guys, why? What is the special sauce that? Are they all just lying? No,
I don't think. Well, maybe lying is a bit of a strong word, but I think that was a bit of our enjoyment as well. Was where people say they can't do it, well, we're going to do it. And I guess it's maybe back to your point, Zach. It's kind of it's volume and economics. They probably felt like they weren't going to sell enough of these to be viable, but they could sell 200,000 eggy versions. And we're just sort of taking a tack, which is we want to build this car, and that's the car that we're going to build and homologate. But absolutely no loopholes. It's gone through every legal testing that every other car has to go through.
How many of these a year do you need to build to be happy as CEO?
We've talked a lot about this magic 30,000 a year number. We haven't got there quite yet. That's not a break-even number, though. That's higher than a break-even number. So that's me kind of saying I'd be overperforming, completely washing my face in terms of the investment I need to make back into my business, because we need to keep doing a lot to remain legal, actually, particularly in Europe. Like new engines, new pedestrian protection, all of the great new autonomous driving. I mean, pretty much it's a treadmill of horror. But I also have optimism beyond that. You know, we've got a factory that's bigger than that. I kind of say 30,000 thinking, that sounds reasonable in 50 countries. I'd be happy with that. But we're winners. You know, we want to knock it out of the park. And, you know, if the demand is a bit higher than that, we can totally satisfy that from handback. And that's when I think I'd be happy, if I'm like not just outperforming, but like smashing it.
Like maxing out the factory?
Yeah, like that's when I will feel happy. But we're a long way away from that.
Were you there when they acquired the factory?
No.
Okay, so you walked in and the factory was there.
Factory, yeah.
Okay, so is it appropriate for me to say what at the old factory could be like reused, or was it just like start from scratch but in this giant empty building?
Actually, no, the complete opposite. So Mercedes had conceived that they were going to build one of their EVs there, and they had put hundreds of millions into a new body shop and a new paint shop. They then did like a worldwide rationalisation of their production plants and decided to do something different. So we actually walked into a state-of-the-art, brand new body shop and paint shop.
Oh, cool. Well, that's nice.
So it really has been, I think, we talked about sort of COVID and supply chain crises and stuff. Like, I think if we'd had to build from scratch, I probably wouldn't be sitting here talking to you right now. So for a number of reasons.
Yeah.
But yeah, it has been a really, really awesome thing for us.
Oh, that's super cool. Yeah. And now in sort of in the luxury space, customization, really important. You know, Porsche charging anywhere between $5,000 and $25,000 for colors, you know, different fabrics, leathers, stuff like that. I just drove a Bentley with $100,000 in options on it, which
I need to go and, you know, we need to do better.
Yeah, well, you could charge a lot more. But is that something that your customers are really asking for, customization and personalization, or less so?
No, definitely, and it was always part of the plan as well. It's a vehicle that really lends itself to customisation, and we're just getting started on that, really. So the Portal Axles would be a great example, but we also launched our sub-brand earlier this year in the summer, actually. It's called Arcane Works, and that's going to be our bespoke personalisation brand. So effectively now, as at today, you can go on and order any colour you like, and you can, you know, really start to play around with the trim and stuff. And we want to take that brand in a few different directions. So that's our first. We kind of did our first one it's called the Detour. And really, this first one is really just trim. You know, we've just really refined a lot of it. It's got new wheels. It's got, you know, cashmere headliner. It's got really
cashmere.
Yeah, that's nice.
You know,
Cashmere headliner is pretty good. I'll take that.
But we haven't sort of started thinking about sort of grinding up diamonds and putting it in the paint yet. Or
So you've heard about the diamonds, huh? Who told you about my diamond car? I've seen diamonds. I've seen gold.
Yeah, same.
Gold. The woven. Have you seen the woven gold?
Yeah, I've heard about these slightly crazy things.
Yeah, what have you seen? Like meteorite? You see that one?
No.
Yeah, there's a meteor dust one too.
This is which just becomes dust, right?
Yeah. No, you can't even. Yeah, it's black. The car's black. It's basically the old mother of pearl. That would actually be kind of rad. The mother of pearl.
Yeah, I mean, at least you'd maybe see something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Diamond, not so much.
Yeah, I like materials and stuff. You got to have a some tartans. You need a Highlands edition.
I have like really sort of lost. I probably lost my entire countrymen by not having suggested that already.
Seriously.
Yeah.
When I went to Scotland, they had some crazy custom shooting vehicles with all of the tartans, and you can embrace that stuff. It's great.
It is. Can't believe that I've come to LA to
be told that
I need to put tartan in the car. I mean, I'm shamed.
Love a tartan in the car.
Shamed.
Yeah. So, the analog nature of the interior and all that, was it a directive of you need to be able to use gloves like older Land Rovers were, or was it like no, people just want knobs for stuff?
People just want knobs for stuff.
Yeah.
Everyone's just. I think there's just a bit of malaise, and again, there's lots and lots of tech and software driven vehicles, smartphones on wheels. It works for a lot of people. I just think there's a
people who
subset.
love their phones and hate their cars.
Yeah,
there's a lot of those people
that hate driving.
Yeah,
you
they
know,
suck.
And I'm not one of those people, and we, as a team, are not those people. And we hark back to, it's not just about harking back to something that was, it's harking back to something that we all just really like and enjoy. And we all like driving. And if you're messing about with all the screens, you're not driving. If the car's doing everything for you, you're not driving.
Yeah.
So buttons and knobs, yeah, there's a bit of antidote to the millions of screens, but there's also an ease of use, right? You know, if you're in a bit of a sticky situation in an off-road environment where you're doing something a little bit tricky, then you don't want to have to be thinking about, oh my God, what do I do here? What do I do? You know, it's basically just knobs, buttons, switches, just all the things. And we're all tactile humans. We love a bit of just knobs, buttons, and switches.
Behind all, like, does all of that, like, take apart that panel that looks like an old 747. Behind all that, is there just like a USB cable and it's doing it computerized anyway? It's just lying to us convincingly, which is fine.
No, so I mean, it's not a completely analog car. Obviously, it can't be in today's environment. So you know, we've got a wiring harness that looks relatively scary and doesn't look like an analog car. We've got, I think we got
perfect
like,
for crossing Africa, I might add.
Yeah, we've got something like 37. I think, electronic control units. But I think those Eggy crossovers have got something like 150 electronic control units.
Yeah.
So you would take that panel off and you definitely see some wiring. But when it comes to the crux of the car, where our differential locks are completely mechanical. Mm-hmm. There's nothing in there that's just, some wizardry behind. It's all completely mechanical. But sure, there are some electronics in the car you can't really avoid. We've got, electric windows. You buy the Fieldmaster, you've got heated seats.
Yeah. But it's just, I don't know. It's a. Now we're at a point where, in order to undo some of our, we want to undo the screens without undoing the stuff that works behind the interface. So I was just wondering if the stuff behind was still the same.
Yeah, no,
it's undoing the interface.
It's not. No, it's vastly different under the cover as well. It's a fraction, as I say, less than a third of what everyone else would be doing by way of electronics. And I think we have, wherever we could, stripped it back down to analog, mechanical, and where we couldn't, we've kind of gone with the bare minimum. We wanted to make something that was modern and refined as well. We didn't want it to be, wind down the window and, be cold and not be able to hear anyone because we hadn't put any thought into noise and acoustics.
Yeah.
Or for it not to be smooth, or for, if you want not to have, people like heated seats.
You pretty much want to turn back the clock to like 2010.
Yeah, not like 1960.
Yeah. There's a point beyond which it's like, this car will work.
Yeah.
And you don't have to worry about it. And it has enough.
Yeah.
But not too much.
Because there's a difference between like having the niceties and the luxuries and then the interface that controls those things. And I think the problem I have a lot of times is that if the control for the heated seat function is not up on that screen or a button and have to go into a menu to do it, now it's like, two motor skills to activate that thing. Mm-hmm. When it used to just be like, I can see the knob in the picture, like it's just hit the button and it's on. So we just want the simple action, but we like the modern like convenience.
Yeah.
Is there anything about your answer may be a little reserved to this, and you'll see why in a second. But is there anything about you buy engines from BMW? And presumably that's on a friendly term because you're buying a lot and they like what their engines are going in. Is there anything about using that engine that limits you in any way? Like, okay, well, you have to use this interface. You have to this has to look like this. Outside of just engine goes in car, there's nothing else that constrains you?
No, it's not. And I'm not very reserved actually, so I'm good. No, it's not. I mean, we teamed up with the ZF 8-speed, which they already do. Which they are doing. But that was a choice as well. And even the kind of automatic gear shifter, we kind of used the BMW version of that. We didn't need to. That's maybe something we would look at in the future. So no, it's not one of those situations where you share a platform with someone and then they dictate or by they have to then dictate everything else that goes on in your vehicle, including quite often the wiring, the software, the head unit.
Not to single out Lotus again, but their four-cylinder Emira, which uses the Mercedes AMG four-cylinder, they were telling us when that car first came out, they couldn't tune the gearbox. It was Mercedes' tune on the gearbox, which that car comes out of a crossover. Like you need a different gearbox tune. So yeah.
And when we think about the future, and we think about would we look at platform sharing in the future to see if we could be a bit more savvy, a bit more economics driven. That's always the answer, is that you're then completely beholden. You're beholden to every update they do. You're beholden if they cease production of it and move on to something new. I think it's difficult not to be in charge of your own destiny.
Sure.
So this is purely just parts procurement.
Okay, cool. We have a bunch of questions from our patrons, and I want to make sure we have time for them. And of course, if you want to ask questions of our guests, if you want to get on the live show, if you want to get the show ahead of everybody else, if you want to get it without ads, and more, patreon.com/The Smoking Tire Podcast is where you do it. So let's go. Tim A says, I have not. Zach has pre-screened these.
I organized them.
I have not. So Tim A says, do you think the typical INEOS customer uses it as a daily driver? And as the Grenadier iterates over time, would you want to make it more luxurious or more conventional to meet that demand? Conventional, I assume, means rugged.
Yeah. Great question. I think that actually the nuance of that is that I think no is the short answer. I don't think that people bought the Grenadier from our customers to date necessarily to have it as their daily drive. They bought it either to be an off-road vehicle or a toy or a weekend car. But what we do find is that A, that's changing, and B, even those people that bought it thinking it wouldn't be their daily driver, so many of them actually say to me, I still choose it. Every day when I come out and I'm deciding, if I'm lucky enough to have more than one car, and I'm deciding on the Grenadier, because it's just that feeling you get when you're driving it, right? And it's just, you can't bottle it, you can't really describe it. It's just fun.
Well, it helps if a car has a personality, and this thing does have a personality.
It does.
And a lot of cars don't. Some do, but not many.
Can I ask do you have any cool cars in your personal garage? You said you like driving, and you said it's in your blood. So what is your driving car nerd background?
So I have got Grenadier as my daily driver, and I love that a lot. But I do also like some other things as well. So I've got probably my most fun car is a GT4 RS.
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
it's a good one.
Okay.
And I don't take it
as soon as you walked in, you said, that's a GT2 RS. I was like, okay, All right, so you have a 4RS.
Yeah.
What color?
Silver.
Okay. Very nice choice.
So yeah, I've
Where does that car live?
So it lives in the UK. It gets kind of tucked up at night in a place like yours downstairs. And yeah, I want to track race it, not drive around the streets or go get coffee in it. So
that's an excellent car.
Yeah,
good for you.
I love it.
What else?
I've got a Mini.
Of course, as is tradition.
Because it's I actually live in Monaco, which is a really weird place to live. But it's really sort of
Unless
small.
you're like Charles Leclerc, and then it's totally normal.
And I am nothing like him on many levels. It's just really easy to get around in.
New Mini, or not an old, and a classic Mini? Or new
No,
Mini?
unfortunately,
New one, okay.
it's a new one.
Okay.
I don't actually have any classic cars in my garage yet. That I need to fix that. I was loving your little Speedster downstairs.
Not my Speedster, I assure you, but that is a very, very nice car. Yeah, old Porsches they're great because they're easy. They're easy to drive.
Yeah, I definitely really. I was chatting to one of the team the other day, and he said he had a 1971 911. I was like,
probably great.
It's amazing.
Yeah, probably great. Well, it's GT4 RS is all right. And a Mini, you're in the club. You're good. Yeah, you're in the club. Brad says, great work on making the Grenadier such a low-key, if you know vehicle. How hard was that to keep it low-key and not over the top with badging and logos? Was there a temptation to put logos all over it?
Yeah, and I that's a lovely compliment that that kind of makes me feel like it's something we regret a little bit. Look, we're not going to change it, but you're spot on, Brad. Lots of people are like, oh, what is that? And that's quite hard when you're trying to get awareness up and you want people to know what it is rather than sort of say, what is that? So I often say that my job will be done when people stop saying, what is that?
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. You should give people a couple months credit on their payments to just have a huge plaque on their door that says, it's an INEOS. Google it.
Well, it's like, the Raptor. Moved. They really did it.
Yeah.
Just put it on the bed so everybody knows.
Yeah. Terry King, any plans for a two-door? I think it would look good as a two-door.
It would look very good as a two-door, and actually someone came to me with a design the other day for the pickup truck, the Quartermaster, in two-door version, which would take a fair bit of development. But we're definitely looking at shorter wheelbase for sure, but no announcement launch date anytime soon.
Have any safari lodges in like Africa bought them yet to turn into the stadium seating
Zach,
safari vehicles?
Need to do a little search on
Is there one?
The INEOS Grenadier Safari Viewer.
Oh yeah, let's see it. I went to the South African safari and they were using like a 2015 Defender. And they were like, "This is the last one we can get. This is the end of it." Oh, look at that. Hell yeah. Oh, that one's got like lounge chairs in the back. That one is pimping.
Yeah, we went to town and actually the modifier that did this for us is based in Botswana. And,
that's kick ass.
We actually acquired the company 2 years ago as well.
Did
so
you?
We actually own the Botswana company.
Can you homologate this vehicle? Because that would
for
be
what? Driving around Los Angeles
for LA Airport shuttle from West Side Collector.
No, you don't want. You want to be.
You're like
enclosed.
taking a biplane.
Oh God!
I think a single type approval for one. You could do that.
I mean, look, I rode in one of these that was Land Rover based, and the seats in this one look like they're out of Michael Jordan's movie theater at his house. Those are some lazy boys. That's proper. But you know what? It doesn't have the bow rider. You need the bow rider seat.
The
one where the guide hangs off the nose.
Yeah.
You need the bow rider seat to complete the look. But I am impressed, Lynn. That looks rad. And now you can just build those.
Yeah.
If I come to England, can I just roll one of those around?
We've got one in England.
Do you really?
Because we took it over for Goodwood.
Can I get that as a press car?
It went up the hill in Goodwood.
Dude, let me get that as a press car for a week. That would be sick.
I actually drove it, which wasn't obviously quite with the same impact, but I drove it through Maun in Botswana. So, the safari vehicles don't normally come to the main cities. So I was just sort of quite happily driving through the city, and it's awesome.
Yeah, that one I was in had 50,000 low-range kilometers. It was unbelievable. It was so cool. That looks great. Very well done. Here for Matt's Cats. I'm a cat guy. What is the flaw in EVs that INEOS seeks to correct, and what makes your approach different from other OEMs? Have you said something about a flaw in EVs that you seek to correct?
I've said plenty about EVs, but I'm not sure that we're seeking to correct it. I think that my kind of stance on EV is just that, and it's just having a pop at regulators, regulators less so in the US, but still definitely in Europe. It's just, okay, we need to decarbonise, so electric, go. And the OEMs all kind of run at it to say, well, we got to be legal, we got to sell cars. And what we're finding in Europe right now is it's really faltering, and I think it could start faltering here as well if incentives change. And I think that we're trying to force something when the infrastructure isn't there, when the clean energy isn't there, and when people don't necessarily, it doesn't work for everyone's daily lives. And so...
Disclaimer, you work for a petroleum company, right?
Yeah.
Okay, can we just
I've got really strong opinions about it.
Lay that on there real quick.
But actually, it's not about...
I don't disagree with you, but...
So I am going to qualify what you said, because you're absolutely right, and that is my stance in life. But it's not about being a gas-guzzling 4x4 energy company that doesn't give a shit about the environment. Actually, I think decarbonisation, getting to zero emissions from tailpipe when we've got that many cars on the road that I've just seen coming to Culver City here, is really important, and I think we take that really seriously. I think my stance on EV is more that if governments mandate it and people don't buy it, all they're going to do is keep their older, dirtier cars for longer, and actually the whole thing fails. Whereas actually, I just take a bit of a more rational approach, which is you need to keep a mix of things on the road for longer, and you will improve over a longer period of time. So EV will take up a huge part of it, but we also need hybrids. And in Europe, they're going to ban them because they've got a combustion engine component.
That seems very silly.
I just think it's nuts. It's insane. And that's my issue with EVs. It's not a pop at EVs. We're going to build one because we think there is a market for it. It's a pop at people that think there's one solution to a very complex problem.
I mean, yeah, in America we've got that too. We have an EV mandate of sorts in California, and as we know, the rest of the country follows California, and it's not really tenable in its current form here. A lot of people like EVs for what they're good at.
Yeah.
The sports car people we talk to don't like EVs for many enthusiast car reasons. Mm-hmm. And I think people should buy the thing they like. And I do like hybridization a lot because it electrifies more. I mean, I just did 385 miles here to Arizona in the new Bentley Speed Hybrid, nice. 740 horsepower, and I did 26 miles a gallon at high speed going across the desert. Like, that's pretty good.
Perfect.
Pretty good. Like, that's a substantial improvement on the last one. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
But so you're doing eventually a Grenadier EV?
It won't be a Grenadier. So that's the other flaw, I suppose, is that our kind of body on frame platform in the Grenadier does not lend itself particularly well to electric, just because of weight mainly.
Yeah.
And so what we launched earlier this year was the Fusilier, and it's on pause until we get a little bit of clarity about whether combustion engines are going to be banned, because we're going to offer it in pure electric and range extender. The range extender's got a small combustion engine that powers the battery.
I like range extender. Range extender is good.
It's such a fantastic... I mean, you know, part of the reason people are stuttering with picking up EVs is range anxiety. And the range extender takes away 80% of the emissions and all of the range anxiety.
Yeah.
So for me, it's a fantastic transition technology, and at the moment it would be banned.
It's just like if hybrids are the 1/3 of the way to an EV, range extender is like 2/3 of the way to the EV.
Exactly.
And my wife, who drives all the stuff that I drive, I've been talking about hybrids, whatever, 50 miles on electric, and then the infinite on gas, and she goes, "Why can't I have like 250 on electric and then like another 100 on the gas for if I just need that last little bit?" And I was like, I think that's coming.
Yeah, and I think it's great. But in Europe right now, it would be banned. So our Fusilier concept is extremely capable 4x4, but not with the body on frame. It's got a monocoque. It is, we're working really hard to make it as capable as the Grenadier. Probably not, this will always be the marquee off-road vehicle. Thank you, Zach. And we want to offer it in range extender. We would just like a bit of clarity from the various governments around the world that they're not going to ban it.
Sure. Do you really think that combustion engines, do you think they'll actually get to the ban? You don't think they'll kick it down the field a little bit?
I don't think they'll get to the ban, no. Yeah. But we're talking about, the level of investment to potentially have a 2-year window of sales is a risk that we're too small to take.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think the ban will happen. Yeah. I think that it's an easy thing that the can's been kicked down the road a few times, but it's actually in the UK they're trying to bring it back to 2030. 2030 is tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's
in car building that's
absolutely.
now.
And therefore I think they just very quickly run out of room and just go, all right, well we just have to extend it.
That keeps happening here as well. They keep doing exactly the same thing. Can you go back, Zach?
Oh, sorry.
So okay. We have Terry, again, says, does INEOS hope the Grenadier will gain the same following as Land Rover has, where in 30 years plus people will be restoring or resto-modding them to cope with whatever the modern world is? Now, that's an interesting one. I wonder if it would be possible for you guys or somebody to build a vehicle that is sort of designed to be upgraded over time with modern... I mean, it's almost impossible to do that, isn't it?
Complex enough, my brain is.
Yeah.
Because, what we're trying to do is just so crazy as it is. These are cars that are already on the road. Legislation's not affecting cars that are already on the road. And despite what I've just been saying about older, dirtier cars staying on the road for longer, this has got state-of-the-art engine in it, and combustion engines have improved in emissions by 50% over the last 20 years. So it's not a dirty car. And I think that I do hope that it will become the icon that we want it to be. And I think if we compare it to a lot of the electric vehicles, again, I'm having a pop at electric vehicles, I really don't mean to. I think there are a lot of vehicles on the road today that are, I kind of liken to like fast fashion in a way.
Yeah.
You know, they
They're
are
appliances.
disposable.
Yeah.
And our car will be on the road in 50 years' time, no problem. It is extremely robust.
Yeah, I just watched a documentary literally this morning on the elliptical machine about electronic waste, and I was just like, oh my God. And I'm 45 minutes into a 90-minute documentary, and they haven't mentioned electric cars yet. But I'm like, they're probably not going to get there. But I couldn't help but think about the e-waste of electric cars compared to a car, at least an enthusiast car that's on the road for 50, 60, 70, years.
Yeah.
Pretty sure I know the answer to this one, but Squirkle wants to know plans to make an AMG or M competitor performance model. Have you looked at this thing? Don't do that. Stop.
No, I think. But, I mean, we did another of the prototypes we did in the summer was we put a V8 in a Grenadier.
Yeah,
and that was fun.
BMW V8?
No, it wasn't a BMW V8.
Of course, it's an LS motor. It's always an LS motor.
I think we did it as a bit of a sort of fun project. So I'm not going to say which engine it is, but it was phenomenally fun. So yeah, I think we would probably look at doing something like that. Not in series production, probably in small series production, but yeah, I think doing something like that, it does lend itself to a really sort of nice growly engine.
Yeah,
for sure.
Especially if you get your Iceland guy going and you do the 44s.
Some long travel.
Yeah. Now we're
it's
talking.
It's going to be music to Einer's ears.
Yeah. Timbo says, besides the U.S., what are your next two biggest markets?
So our next biggest market is the UK, and our next biggest market after that is Australia.
That tracks.
I'd say the UK, Australia, I've got to mention a fourth, I guess, because UK, Australia, Germany always kind of tag quite along. So I think Germany's kind of sitting at the bottom of that at the moment, but not by much.
I feel like Germany is not what I think of when I think of off-road culture.
No, but they're big into their cars.
They are.
Yeah, they are interested in automobile life. I think it will be interesting to see how it tracks in the future, though, I think.
Yeah. Mr. Miyagi, again, lots of cat references. Any plan? Wait, isn't the Quartermaster going on sale in the U.S.? Or is it on sale in the U.S.?
It is on sale. The order books are open. We had a few at the show today, but you won't see any yet on the roads, but you will from Q1 next year. Okay,
answered. You can get it here. We'll leave that one up top. Oh, my God.
These
Josh
are the final
says,
three.
I daily drive a short wheelbase Series 3 Land Rover all summer in a small coastal town. Okay, wait. What tire? Oh, this is a tire question on a Land Rover? Oh, sorry.
We can skip this.
Oh, these
one.
are okay.
These are for us.
Oh, these are for us?
Yeah, this is like this is a shotgun question.
Got it. What, while you're in town, what LA things are you going to do? Any of them?
So I am going to Koreatown tonight for some dinner.
Perfect.
And I am doing a little hike up to the Hollywood Hills tomorrow morning.
Runyon? You're going to do Runyon?
I'm doing Runyon in the morning.
Do you know? Have you done it before?
I have done it before.
Okay, yeah.
Quite a long time ago, though, so I'm excited.
Celebs,
really?
people taking calls like while doing the hike. Lots of Starbucks. Hard hike, but you wouldn't know it from the people watching.
Oh, so I'm now thinking about, I did a hike, and again, it's not a difficult hike, particularly in Edinburgh, which is kind of broadly where I'm from, where they've got a mountain in the middle of the city called Arthur's Seat.
Oh, yeah.
And it doesn't take very long to get up. It's not super hard, which is really awesome. But talking about Starbucks and celebs and people on their phone, I went up there a few months ago, and there was a guy walking his cat. On a leash.
So listen, I would make friends with that guy and the cat, and respect. It's kind of it is a bit Scottish to be walking your cat.
I mean, it was. I've never seen anyone in Scotland walking their cat before.
Yeah. So. It feels Scottish to a dumb American. What a great city, though, Edinburgh. What a lovely
Matt
town.
knows the social norms of cat ownership in Scotland.
Listen, I can just picture it. That's about as much education as I need on that topic.
You're confusing imagination with education.
Yes, that's exactly. Yes, I am. But I could still picture that hill, a guy in a kilt with a cat. pretty
I
much.
mean, any Saturday in Edinburgh.
Lovely town, though. What a great place. Thank you for giving us an hour of your time and coming to us. Very nice of you.
Thank you so much, guys, for having me. That was really, really fun.
I'm really excited. We're going to drive the car next week. You're getting me the off-roady one, right?
The Trial
The
Master,
Trial Master?
yeah.
Yeah, cool. Super excited. I've been bugging Colleen for probably 2 years about driving one.
Sorry that
It's
it's
okay.
taken this long. And I'd really, really love to hear what you think of it.
We will give you notes.
That would be amazing.
Thank you to our patrons. Have a happy Thanksgiving. We're not putting out a show on Thanksgiving Day because no one will be there to listen to it. So I hope you all have a great holiday with your family, and we'll see you next time. And Lynn, it's been a real pleasure. Come see us next year when you're back in LA, and we can hopefully take one of these off-roading together.
Oh,
and,
yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, and if you want to ship a fun car here, you know who to call.
yeah,
Your friends
yeah.
at Westside Collector Car Storage if you want to drive our mountains in your GT4 RS.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, both.
Thanks, kids. Happy Thanksgiving. See you next time. Bye.